Hi, my name is Artem, and in this video I want to make a little breakdown of the sound system I created for the very talented game developer Fouad, who is famous for the Combat Fury blueprint system and a bunch of other great stuff actually. So the system itself, it's called, the way I call it, the interactive crowd response sound system, and everything is in the name. So we hear different crowd responses depending on what is happening on the Gladiator arena in this case. The game for which the system was created is heavily inspired by the Gladiator movie, and what we have here is sort of like a test environment, and it's not how the actual game looks like, but it's good enough to get the feeling in our case. I decided to divide this video into the three parts. In the first one we're gonna look at the actors that are placed on our arena. Then we will move on to the blueprints logic. And lastly we will cover things like sound cues, sound classes, mixers, submixes, and other assets. But first, let's start with the demonstration. So we are starting from the bottom level of the arena, and as you can see in the top right corner there is a character state thing. And the idea is that when the character state is changed, we hear a corresponding crowd response sound. In my case it's done by rotating the mouse wheel, but in the real game it's done differently and connected to the in-game events. And let's start. So that's pretty much it, and let's start with the breaking down itself. The first thing we are gonna look at is called Arena Audio Follow. It's a custom blueprint, and what it does, it makes two audio components follow the player around the arena while being connected to the spline mesh that matches the arena shape. And it's needed for making the reaction sounds more positioned as we move closer to the borders, so we can identify from where the sound comes from. And there is also a slightly different sound specifically for borders, like more distant clapping or overall more brighter sound elements. Then we have an arena audio transition blueprint, and what it does is just switches between the upper and the lower level audio. Next on the list is the arena audio volume. It's just a regular audio volume that goes around the arena. And it also has a slightly modified reverb preset and some ambient zone settings. Next we have a couple of ambient sound actors, one for the general crowd loop, for the general atmosphere. Another one is for the lower part of the arena. Then we have wind, which I switched off for now, but it's there just in case. And the reaction audio. At first the reaction sound's supposed to be assigned to it and played through this actor, but then I decided to spawn new reaction sounds in its location. We will see it in more detail when reviewing blueprints. And lastly we have a lower audio volume for this tiny space under the arena. It also has the reverb preset and ambient zone settings, which as you noticed doesn't affect frequency of the sound in any way, and this fake occlusion feeling we have in this area is created with the submix modifier, which we will check a bit later. Now let's proceed with the blueprints, and the first one is the third-person character blueprint, which represents our player. And what we have here is events for switching states with the mouse wheel. And that's where we fire our reaction sounds. So each character state has pretty much the same setup to it, except for the finishing enemy one. We trigger two custom events, one for the border audio and another one is general, and we assign the sounds we want to play in the inputs of the event. These events trigger functions, and the reason why I don't fire these functions directly is because I had a delay node previously, which is not allowed to have in the function. Now let's look at the function that is responsible for playing the borders reaction audio. First we assign a sound asset to play from the input, and then we are searching for the specific component attached to the arena audio follow blueprint, which is located on the arena. We are initially fading out the audio from this component. Then we check if the variable that has an audio component type, we check if it's valid or not to prevent any errors, and if it's valid, then we check if it's playing or not at the moment. And if yes, we are fading it out so that we can play a new sound and prevent stocking. So after making these preparation steps, we are finally ready to spawn a new sound. And then we put this freshly spawned audio component into the variable. And that's it for the border reaction. Let's now check the general crowd reaction function. The logic in here is pretty similar, except that we search for another actor on the location to spawn the sound attached to it. Here it is. As you can see, it has the tag that we are looking for in the blueprint. Then the logic is very similar to the borders reaction sounds again. We fade out the old sound, play the new one, and set it in the variable. One of the reactions is a bit different than the others, and this is finishing the enemy. Apart from the usual border and general reaction, we also play the crowd stomp player to sort of emphasize the feeling that the crowd is going really crazy when we perform the finisher attack. And here's how it sounds. In the blueprint we are gradually fading out the sound after 4 seconds of playing. And that's it for this blueprint. Alright, and next up we have the arena audio follow blueprint, and again what it does is it makes two audio components attached to it follow the player around the spline mesh that is placed on the arena. This concept is not mine, I've learned it somewhere on YouTube a while ago and I don't remember where exactly, but I use it ever since. Oh yeah, and as for the audio components attached as the sound to play, they both have audio buses. One bus receives the audio from the general crowd atmosphere loop, and another one receives the reaction audio. And we will look into it a bit deeper in the third section. The final blueprint in the system is the arena audio transition, for transitioning from the lower level of the arena to the upper one and backwards. And it's not actually the part of the sound system, it's just the triggers that I created a while ago and use here and there. The idea is to use 3 triggers instead of 1 and only do something if we cross 3 of them in the specific direction. Because if we only used 1, we could just step on it and apply the change to the sound. In our case, this is pushing the submix modifier. And then while staying overlapped with the trigger, we can go back instead of going forward as intended, and that way we will break everything. So this step is an extra safety measure. And yeah, apart from popping and pushing the submix modifier, we also play crowd reaction sound to sort of greet the player as he enters the arena. And now it's the time for the last part of the video, which is reviewing the assets to fill in all the remaining gaps. And we're gonna start with the sound classes. The setup is the following. We have an ambient sound class, which has 2 channels, lower level for the lower level audio and the upper level for the upper level audio respectively. The upper level sound class has 2 channels, the general 2D loop, which is used for general atmosphere of the crowd and some other similar sounds. And also the ambient responses class, which is used for, well, the crowd responses. This sound class also has 1 child, which is ambient responses border for the crowd reactions that we can hear only close to the borders of the arena. And that's it with the sound classes. Let's continue and check the attenuations. We have 2 of them in the setup. One is for the borders reactions. Let me quickly scroll through the settings so you can see everything. Here you can see it's used in one of the close-up reactions. And another one for the general reactions with turned off specialization. Here is the example, and the same attenuation is also used on the general crowd atmosphere. Sound files, but nothing interesting from the technical point of view here. Blueprints, we checked them in the previous section. And the sound buses, we have 2 of them. One for the general crowd loop, and another one is for the general reactions. Here is the example. So we sent the audio from this general crowd atmosphere sound cue to the sound bus here. And also the same for the reaction sound, but we send it to another sound bus. And these 2 sound buses are set as audio sources for the audio components of the arena audio follow blueprint. And the purpose of it is so that we can hear the audio that is happening all over, positioned when we get closer to the borders, so that we don't sort of lose the sense of reality, and we don't hear only the unique sounds that belong to the borders. We have 1 concurrency asset, but it's used, as I believe, it's used only on one sound, which is this down player. You heard it before, but just in case. Effects, we have 2 of them in the folder. Master limiter, it's bypassed now. It's there just in case. And the sidechain compressor, so it's used for docking the general crowd atmosphere when the reaction kicks in. It's attached to one of the submixes here, and it receives the signal from another one. One submix goes to the reactions sound class, and another one to the ambient loop sound class. And we also have this sound class mixer that we push and pop through the Arena audio transition blueprint. It affects the upper level sound class, and it's used for transitioning between the lower part of the arena and the upper one. And this is it. Thanks for watching this breakdown, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I would be glad to help. Or if you just want to say hi, do the same. Bye!